Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Gennadiy Golovkin 3. The rivalry, at least I think, is definitely over. After 36 rounds of these two going at it over the past, 4 years? No. Is it 5 years? Past 5 years? It's definitely time to end this rivalry between the two. I think we can all agree that Triple G looked his age. He at least this time, at least in my opinion, clearly lost his fight. But it was still controversial because even though Saul Canelo Alvarez successfully defended his super middleweight titles, the judges scored this fight horribly. Horrible scorecards from the judges. 116, 112, at 115, 113, 115, 113, all in favor of Canelo. In my opinion, the most rounds you can give Triple G is 3 rounds. Maybe 4. Maybe. I think that's pushing it a little bit, but I think 3 rounds is the most you can give. 3 of the last 6 rounds. But yeah, it was mainly Canelo setting the pace early on and just controlling the fight, pushing Golovkin, making Golovkin move back. And it was a little too late for Golovkin to finally let his hands go. I don't know what the game plan was from Golovkin's team, but it seemed like, at least it appeared, that their game plan was to maybe tire down Canelo in the first half, and then start letting Triple G start letting his hands go in the second half, which he did, but he did it a little too late. He allowed Canelo to win already 6-7 rounds, pretty much winning the fight already, where he needed the knockdown or multiple knockdowns or a knockout to win the fight. And he when he let his hands go, he was having moments. He was having really good moments in there against Canelo, especially in the second half when Canelo has tired down a bit. But it was a little bit too late. Too late from Team Triple G. At the age of 40, for him to have good moments like that showed that he can probably still compete against top contenders at 160 pounds. But obviously against somebody like Canelo, Canelo was too young, too strong for Triple G. Triple G definitely had he still has the experience, the skills to compete, but you can tell that he just doesn't have the legs anymore and the reflexes as he used to. And that's okay. I mean, that's part of aging for a champion like Triple G, who, by the way, is one of the greatest middleweights of all time, definitely a future Hall of Famer. At the age of 40, fighting a pound-for-pound fighter like Canelo, at that age, it's hard to win against Canelo. And a good effort. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was a pretty good effort from Triple G in those last few rounds. But again, I thought it was just a little too late. I honestly didn't. The game plan was, I would say, they had the right game plan, but it was miscalculated, or they probably did not expect Canelo to be setting the pace for that long. Maybe they thought he would tire down immediately after four or 5 rounds, and then maybe Triple G will start letting his hands go in round 6 and on. But that did not happen. But yeah, I think Triple G just allowed Canelo to win a lot of the early rounds, because I'm pretty sure Triple G could have made those rounds more competitive and made the scorecards more realistic if he actually did try to make those rounds competitive. But I guess he didn't want to take too much risk. Probably felt the power from Canelo. Obviously, Canelo is more in his prime these days compared to Triple G. So maybe he didn't want to take too much risk. It was a very calculated. I mean, very safe choices made by Triple G in the first half. So anyway, no surprise that Canelo won. I'm just honestly surprised with the judges, man. Come on, how 5 rounds, 7-5. I don't know, man. Those scorecards were ridiculous in my opinion. But anyway, with this win, Saul Canelo Alvarez improves to 58-2, 2 draws, 39 wins coming by way of knockout TKO. So he bounces back with a win after losing to Dimitri Bivol I think most of us, if not all of us, want to see Canelo against big names. Um, he can rematch Bivol, or he can focus at his weight and fight people at his weight division, because there are still fighters in his weight division that makes for very, very good fights. If we scroll down to super middleweight, 168 pounds, because a lot of people don't realize that Canelo fought Dimitri Bivol at light heavyweight, 175 pounds. People don't even know their freaking weight divisions. Well, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of casual fans don't know that. So he lost to Bivol at 175 pounds. He moved back down to 168, defended his titles. Now, here's who he needs to fight, in my opinion. We have Benavidez, who this is definitely the best fight that he can make at 168. That's the best fight you can make at 168 pounds. And it's the fight that makes sense. And hopefully he does fight Benavidez. All these other fighters, Dirrell, Ryder, Mbili, Morrell, Richards, Zach Parker, all good fighters, but in my opinion, they don't really deserve a shot at Canelo. Maybe Demetrius Andrade, who is ordered to fight Zach Parker for the interim title. Maybe the winner of that fight can fight Canelo. But if anybody here deserves a shot at Canelo, it's, in my opinion, David Benavidez. So hopefully that's a fight that happens at 168. 175, a rematch against Bivol, or the winner of Bivol versus Ramirez, which is coming up on November 5. So there are options for Canelo. And if he fights somebody at 160, maybe Charlo moving up in weight, Jamal Charlo moving up in weight to 168 pounds. Maybe he's probably the best one to fight from 160. Or Jaime Munguia, who, by the way, is actually moving up in weight now to 168, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I think he's moving up to 168 now. Anyway, so there are still options for Canelo. I think Canelo mentioned that he plans to rest after this fight. So it looks like he won't be fighting in December. He mentioned some type of injury in his left hand. So I don't think we're going to be seeing him in December. I think we'll probably be seeing him back inside the ring sometime in May of next year. As for Mr. Triple G, Mr. Gennadiy Golovkin, Mr. Gennadiy Golovkin, at 40 years old, he mentioned that he still plans to fight. He's not retiring after this fight. And yeah, he showed that he can still fight. He showed that in the second half of this fight against Canelo. But still, he still doesn't have that. You can clearly tell that he was fighting more of his age in this fight compared to the first two fights. I think he can definitely still compete against the best contenders out there. Maybe not at 168. And I think he did mention going back down to 160 to defend his titles. And I think he will go back down to 160. 160 is his weight. He's arguably one of the best 160 pounders in the history of boxing. And at 160, if you look at 160 pounds, the other two champions are Johnny Beck, Alim Hanallah, or Jamal Charlo. Alim Hanallah is from Kazakhstan, who holds the WBO title. They're definitely not fighting. I'm pretty sure Johnny Beck wouldn't fight Gennadiy Golovkin. We have Jamal Charlo, who holds the WBC title. Right now, Golovkin, if you guys don't know, this was his last fight under the zone. So he can definitely negotiate to try to make a fight against Charlo, and hopefully PBC and Al Heyman can offer him a money that he can't refuse, and hopefully we get to see that fight. Because honestly, that's the biggest fight you can make right now for Charlo at 160. It's against Charlo at 160 pounds. The biggest second fight that you can make is against Eubank Jr. from the UK, who has a fight coming up against Conor Benn. Now Conor Benn, if he beats Conor Benn, which most people think he will, Eubank hasn't fought for a world title. I'm sure if he beats Conor Benn, his popularity will increase, and I think that's probably the next big fight that he can have at 160 pounds. Maybe third is against Andrade. Munguia has no desire to fight the champion at 160. Well, actually he did, but it never happened. So Charlo is probably the best fight for Triple G at 160, and then Eubank. So anyway, fight ended up going the distance. I was hoping for some more drama, to be honest. Somebody getting completely hurt or somewhat, but both fighters showed that they can still take each other's punches. Triple G took some big, heavy punches, though, man. You can tell that the reflexes aren't there as he used to, but he was able to take those punches pretty well, and obviously go all the way to the end of the fight. So it is what it is. Yeah, just one video for tonight. For now, I'll make other videos for the rest of the event the following day, tomorrow, or sometime within the next 24 hours. So if you saw the fight, let me know what did you think about in the comments. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and like always, have a great day. All right, thanks.